Hi! Today I'm going to be making an asparagus risotto with seared scallops. Now the asparagus risotto I saw on Reddit. Someone named Count2Infinity2 posted it. It looks super easy and super delicious. The scallops I'm searing using the method that Alton Brown uses, and he really knows food. So if you want some delicious scallops and asparagus risotto, let's make them. The recipe calls for 1 shallot, and I've actually never cooked with a shallot before. But first I assume you'd want to take the skin off, so I'm going to cut the ends, and okay. Shallots have a darker color than I realized. Kind of a purple, I think. Alright, I got all the skin off. It looks very pretty. I don't know how to tell if a shallot's good or not, but it does smell pretty fragrant. So I'm just gonna chop it into pretty tiny pieces. You know, it's a lot like an onion. I think it's actually part of that family. So I'm gonna dice them really. Now get a medium to large saucepan, and I'm gonna start it over a medium heat. Then you need a ½ cup of white cooking wine. Give that a little bit to warm up to a medium heat, or a slight medium high. We are going to want to roast some asparagus, so preheat your oven to 425 degrees. At this point, stir in your shallot and kind of saute it for a little bit in the white wine. Just for a little bit. Now to this, add 1 cup of chicken broth. We're going to use 4 total, but I would mix it in as we go, not all at once. Now mix in a cup of arborio rice and ½ cup of grated Parmesan cheese. From this point on, you're going to need to stir frequently. And as the rice absorbs the chicken broth, add more. Keep stirring. And now that it's at a light boil, let's turn the temperature down to a medium-low and just keep stirring it. Take your asparagus and make sure you wash it and drain it. And then you're going to want to snap off the wooden ends. So if there's ends that look white or not very good, snap those off. Take a baking sheet, and you can use aluminum foil if you'd like. Lightly spray it. Now put your asparagus on it, the pieces where you've snapped off the wooden ends. Now as you can see, a lot of the liquid is left. Now it's time to add another cup of chicken broth. And just keep continuously stirring. I'm going to guess this might take about 20 minutes to fully cook. Now that we've got all our asparagus stalks with the woody ends broken off, onto our sheet, lightly drizzle them with olive oil. So just lightly work your way through. Not too much, not too little. Now we can sprinkle a little bit of salt on them. And one technique I learned with salt is if you hold it up high, it'll spread better. Okay? I'd say those are lightly salted. Put your asparagus into your oven for 15 to 20 minutes, or until nice and crispy. At this point, I'm going to add my 3rd cup of chicken broth. And this is going to be my final cup. It's up to you and how your risotto looks, how your arborio rice is absorbing it, but I don't think mine could possibly absorb 4 whole cups worth. It's already starting to get soft, so I think this 3rd cup will be the perfect amount. There are a few ways to thaw your scallops. You can leave them in the fridge for 3 to 4 hours, or you can put them in cold water, make sure they're weighed down, for 10 to 15 minutes, and that should thaw them. Once your asparagus is cooked long enough, and mine's cooked for about 18 minutes, take it out and let it cool for a little bit. Then we're going to chop them up. Once your scallops have thawed, rinse them off. So you may need to cut them out of the bag first. And then just lightly rinse them off. If any of them have this little, if any of them have this little fatty piece hanging on the side, peel it off, get rid of it. Don't be afraid to touch each one. Really get them dry with your paper towel. They're going to be a little damp still, but that's okay. Just get them pretty dry. Okay. Now let's get our asparagus onto a large cutting board. It smells great, it looks great. The recipe says that you cut it into 1/2-inch strips. So once it's cool enough and you can touch it, I'd say just start at the farthest end and cut 1/2-inch strips. Okay, that's good enough for me. Okay, lightly salt your scallops. Again, go really high up, it helps you spread evenly on them. There we go, that's pretty good. If you really want to be efficient about it, you can create something called a tack, which is like a salty, gooey outer layer. But you have to salt them, put them on a rack on top of a pan, and then leave that in a fridge for like 2 to 3 hours. If you don't have time for that, that's okay, they'll still turn out delicious. Now to sear these scallops, get a pan over medium-high heat. Pretty hot. Then put 2 teaspoons of olive oil. That might have been closer to a tablespoon. And then a teaspoon of butter. And let them melt. Let the butter melt. As the butter begins to melt, don't be afraid to turn up the temperature a little bit. We're going to want it really close to high. But we want to make sure all the butter melts first. That's why we started at medium hot. And this all comes from Alton Brown, who is so knowledgeable on food and is so great at cooking. If you're a chef at all, you should look up to him. But we got to keep an eye on things. As soon as the olive oil starts to smoke, that's immediately when we need to put our scallops on it. Okay, smoke is coming off now. So immediately put your scallops in there. But don't move them, or they won't sear properly. And don't let them touch. See, I'm moving them a little bit, breaking the rule already. Okay, 1.5 minutes. All right, it's been 1.5 minutes on one side. Now we need to flip them all. What we're looking for is a golden brown that goes in about 1/4 inch. At this point, I'm happy with mine, so you can cook yours as long as you feel comfortable. But remove from heat and serve immediately. I'm going to take my scallops and mix in all my asparagus pieces. Those delicious asparagus pieces I cut up. At this point, I'm going to add in my arborio rice. I maybe could have stirred it a little longer, but I'm okay with this consistency. At this point, too, you can add the juice of 1 lemon and the zest if you want to grate the skin. I'm not really in the mood for lemon zest this time, but lemon juice sounded pretty good. Now mix all those together. And I kind of wish I had used a slightly larger bowl, but that is okay. You can put pepper on this as much as you like as well. Let's try some. Make sure I get a piece of scallop, some of the risotto, and some of the asparagus. That is really good. The arborio rice are super creamy. You can really taste the white wine in it. Always makes it so creamy. Parmesan cheese is nice, gives it a good base. Asparagus, of course, I baked it to perfection for me anyway. The scallops, a little crispy on the outside, but nice and tender on the inside. And the lemon behind everything, delicious. I'm gonna throw some pepper on here and enjoy. So please, few basic ingredients, few simple steps, and you can do it too. If you like this video, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.